Tonight, Dr. Anthony Fauci under fire from within. The nation's top infectious disease expert targeted by a White House effort to discredit him and his dire warnings about the coronavirus crisis. A White House official on Sunday sent NBC News and other outlets a list of Fauci's past statements on the virus, said to be inaccurate, the memo resembling a campaign opposition research document. Some of Fauci's comments taken out of context, others accurate based on what was known about the virus at the time. It's a stunning broadside against a career civil servant who's advised 6 presidents and was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom. President Trump today downplaying the rift.
I have a very good relationship with Dr. Fauci. I've had for a long time, right from the beginning. I find him to be a very nice person. I don't always agree with him.
Fauci no longer briefs the president and hasn't spoken to him in more than a month. In recent weeks, Fauci has become increasingly vocal about the country's coronavirus response.
As a country, when you compare us to other countries, I don't think you can say we're doing great. I mean, we're just not.
Well, I think we are in a good place. I disagree with him.
Dr. Fauci's a nice man, but he's made a lot of mistakes.
A recent opinion poll shows the American public trusts Fauci's advice over the president's when it comes to the pandemic. The White House had sidelined Fauci from coronavirus task force briefings and interviews as it pushes President Trump's call to reopen the country. An effort that continued today with the president retweeting a baseless claim by a former game show host that everyone is lying about the coronavirus, including the CDC. Dr. Fauci is declining to comment, but he weighed in today about the new surge in coronavirus cases. Fauci saying of the pandemic, "We haven't even begun to see the end of it yet."
Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.